Welcome back to another chilling episode of True Crime, Untold Cases. Tonight, we dive into one of aviation's most baffling mysteries, the disappearance of Frederick Valentich. On a clear October evening in 1978, a young Australian pilot took off for what should have been a routine flight across Bass Strait. Instead, his final radio transmission would become the stuff of legend. "It is not an aircraft," he said, followed by 17 seconds of unexplained metallic scraping sounds. And then silence. No trace of Valentich or his Cessna was ever found. Was it a tragic accident, a carefully orchestrated disappearance, or something far more mysterious? Tonight, we'll explore the evidence, and you can decide for yourself. Let's begin. On the evening of October 21st, 1978, a young pilot named Frederick Valentich took off from Moorabbin Airport in Melbourne, Australia, in his single-engine Cessna 182L. The 20-year-old had filed a flight plan for a relatively straightforward journey across Bass Strait to King Island, where he claimed he was going to pick up some crayfish. What should have been a routine 125-mile flight instead became one of aviation's most enduring mysteries, spawning decades of speculation and theories that persist to this day. Valentich was, by all accounts, an aviation enthusiast who had dreamed of becoming a commercial pilot. Though he had accumulated about 150 hours of flying time and held a private pilot's license, his path to professional aviation hadn't been smooth. He had failed commercial pilot examinations multiple times and had been involved in several minor infractions, including deliberately flying into a cloud and twice straying into controlled airspace. But these setbacks hadn't diminished his passion for flying. The weather that Saturday evening was clear, with a light wind and scattered clouds. Valentich took off at 6:19 p.m. local time, with an estimated arrival time of 7:28 p.m. at King Island. The first portion of his flight proceeded normally, but things took a strange turn at 7:06 p.m. when he contacted air traffic control in Melbourne with an unusual query. "Melbourne, this is Delta Sierra Juliet," he said, using his aircraft's call sign. "Is there any known traffic below 5,000 feet?" The controller responded that there was no known traffic at that altitude. Valentich's voice came back, tinged with uncertainty. Seems to be a large aircraft below 5,000. What followed was one of the most bizarre conversations ever recorded between a pilot and air traffic control. Over the next several minutes, Valentich described an unidentified aircraft that appeared to be playing some sort of game with him, maneuvering around his Cessna in ways that seemed to defy conventional aerodynamics. He reported that the mysterious craft was orbiting above him and had a shiny metal surface with a green light attached. The object would disappear and reappear in different positions, moving at speeds that seemed impossible. "It's approaching now from due east towards me," he reported at one point. "It seems to me that he's playing some sort of game. He's flying over me 2-3 times at speeds I could not identify." The controller continued to insist that there was no known traffic in the area, but Valentich's descriptions became increasingly detailed and alarming. He reported that his engine had begun running roughly and was coughing. The mysterious object was now orbiting right over his aircraft, and he was trying to identify what it might be. At 7:12 p.m., Valentich's voice came through one final time. "It is not an aircraft." The transmission was interrupted by 17 seconds of unidentified metallic scraping sounds. Then, silence. Despite extensive searches over the following days and weeks, no trace of Valentich or his aircraft was ever found. The disappearance immediately captured public attention and imagination. It occurred during a period of intense UFO interest in Australia, with numerous sightings reported across the country in the months leading up to Valentich's final flight. Some witnesses on the ground reported seeing unusual lights in the sky around the time of his disappearance, including a green light that appeared to be traveling with a smaller aircraft. The official investigation by the Department of Transport was thorough but ultimately inconclusive. They considered several possibilities: that Valentich had become disoriented and crashed, that he had staged his own disappearance, or that something truly unexplainable had occurred. The investigation report noted that Valentich had expressed interest in UFOs and had occasionally discussed the possibility of extraterrestrial life with his family and friends. Adding to the mystery were several unusual aspects of the flight itself. The purpose Valentich gave for the journey, picking up crayfish, was questioned, as King Island officials later stated that no such cargo was awaiting collection. He had not made any arrangements for landing at King Island after dark, and the airport's lights would not have been activated without prior request. These discrepancies led some to speculate that Valentich might have had other motives for the flight. The search operation was one of the most extensive in Australian aviation history. Military and civilian aircraft scoured the Bass Strait for days. Ships combed the waters, and coastal areas were thoroughly searched. The only potential physical evidence ever found was an unexplained oil slick spotted near Cape Otway about 20 minutes after Valentich's last transmission, but subsequent analysis was inconclusive. 5 weeks after the disappearance, a local photographer named Roy Manifold came forward with a series of photos he had taken near Cape Otway on the evening of Valentich's flight. The photos, taken about 20 minutes before the disappearance, appeared to show a fast-moving object with a trail of exhaust or vapor. Though some suggested these images might be related to the case, experts were unable to reach any definitive conclusions about what they depicted. The case has become a cornerstone of UFO mythology, particularly in Australia. Skeptics have proposed various explanations for what might have really happened that evening. Some suggest that Valentich, flying solo over water in fading light conditions, might have become disoriented and crashed while fixating on his own reflection or lights reflected in the water. Others point to his previous infractions and failed commercial pilot examinations as evidence that he might not have been equipped to handle challenging flying conditions. A more controversial theory suggests that Valentich might have orchestrated his own disappearance, possibly influenced by the 1977 movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which he had reportedly seen and discussed with friends. However, those who knew him best strongly reject this possibility, describing him as a straightforward young man who, despite his struggles with commercial pilot certification, was dedicated to aviation and had clear plans for his future. The Bass Strait itself has a history of mysterious disappearances, leading some to call it Australia's Bermuda Triangle. Several aircraft and boats have vanished in these waters over the years, though most cases have conventional explanations related to the challenging weather conditions and treacherous waters that can develop in the strait. What makes the Valentich case particularly compelling is the existence of the radio transmission, which was recorded and has been studied extensively over the years. The metallic scraping sounds at the end of the recording have been analyzed by various experts, but their origin remains unexplained. Some have suggested they could be the sound of camera operation, while others propose more exotic explanations. The case has left an indelible mark on Australian aviation history and continues to generate discussion and debate. It represents a unique intersection of UFO mythology, aviation mystery, and human drama. The young pilot's final words, "It is not an aircraft," have become legendary in UFO research circles, while aviation experts continue to search for rational explanations for what might have occurred during those final moments over the Bass Strait. In the years following the disappearance, Valentich's family maintained hope that he might somehow be found alive. His father, Guido Valentich, particularly struggled with the loss, maintaining until his own death that his son had been taken by a UFO. He would often visit the Cape Otway lighthouse, gazing out over the strait where his son had vanished, hoping for answers that never came. The impact of Frederick Valentich's disappearance rippled far beyond his immediate family and the Australian aviation community. In the months and years that followed, researchers, investigators, and UFO enthusiasts from around the world descended upon Melbourne, each hoping to unlock the mystery of what happened that October evening. Their investigations would uncover additional witnesses, raise new questions, and add layers of complexity to an already perplexing case. One of the most intriguing developments came from a group of witnesses who had been camping along the coast near Cape Otway on the night of the disappearance. They reported seeing a large green light moving at high speed across the sky, apparently matching the description Valentich had given in his final radio communications. What made their testimony particularly compelling was that they had made their report before Valentich's radio transcript had been made public, lending credibility to their account. The Department of Transport's investigation files, which were partially declassified in 2014, revealed additional details that hadn't been previously known to the public. Among these was a series of reports from commercial pilots who had been flying in the region in the weeks leading up to Valentich's disappearance. Several had reported unusual light phenomena and unexplained radar contacts, though none had experienced anything as dramatic as what Valentich described in his final minutes. The files also contained detailed analysis of Valentich's flying history and psychological profile. While his struggles with commercial pilot certification were well documented, investigators found no evidence of depression or mental health issues that might have suggested a suicide scenario. His bank accounts showed normal activity, and he had made plans for the following week, including scheduling flight lessons and arranging to meet friends. Perhaps most intriguingly, the files included a detailed technical analysis of the mysterious metallic sounds recorded at the end of Valentich's final transmission. Audio experts from the Australian Department of Defence had conducted sophisticated analysis of these sounds, comparing them to various known aircraft noises, mechanical failures, and radio interference patterns. Their conclusion was surprisingly straightforward. The sounds didn't match any known aircraft or mechanical source in their extensive database. In 1980, an amateur researcher made a discovery that added another layer to the mystery. While reviewing weather satellite data from the night of the disappearance, they noticed an unusual atmospheric disturbance over Bass Strait at approximately the time Valentich vanished. The disturbance appeared as a rapid temperature fluctuation and electromagnetic anomaly that lasted for several minutes. While skeptics argued this could be explained by normal meteorological phenomena, others saw it as potential evidence of something more extraordinary. The case also drew attention from military researchers, particularly those involved in studying unusual atmospheric phenomena. In 1982, a classified U.S. Defense Department memo, later released through Freedom of Information requests, referenced the Valentich incident in relation to a broader study of unexplained aeronautical phenomena. While heavily redacted, the memo suggested that certain aspects of the case warranted further scientific investigation. As the years passed, new theories emerged attempting to explain the disappearance. Some researchers proposed that Valentich had encountered a rare atmospheric phenomenon known as ball lightning, which could potentially explain both the visual descriptions and the engine problems he reported. Others suggested he might have encountered experimental military aircraft, pointing to rumors of secret testing in the Bass Strait region during that period. The impact on aviation safety procedures was significant, though largely unreported. In the years following Valentich's disappearance, Australian aviation authorities implemented stricter requirements for night flying over water, particularly for single-engine aircraft. The case also led to improved protocols for handling unusual pilot reports and enhanced training for air traffic controllers in managing high-stress situations. In 1986, a fishing trawler working in the Bass Strait pulled up something unusual in its nets, a partial section of aircraft landing gear that experts identified as potentially coming from a Cessna 182L. However, despite initial excitement, detailed analysis proved inconclusive, and the part was eventually determined to be from a different aircraft model altogether. The case has continued to generate new leads and theories well into the 21st century. In 2014, an oceanographer studying historical current patterns in Bass Strait developed a computer model suggesting that if Valentich's aircraft had crashed, debris would likely have been carried toward the South Australian coast. This led to a series of targeted searches along specific beach areas, though no definitive evidence was found. The human impact of the case extended far beyond the immediate mystery. Valentich's disappearance became a cautionary tale in Australian flight schools, used to emphasize the importance of maintaining situational awareness and the dangers of becoming fixated on unusual phenomena while flying. However, it also inspired a generation of young pilots to take a more serious interest in unexplained aerial phenomena, leading to the establishment of several scientific research initiatives focused on studying unusual atmospheric events that might affect aviation safety. The case has also had a lasting impact on UFO research methodology. The combination of a recorded radio transmission, multiple ground witnesses, radar data, and physical searches set a new standard for how such incidents should be investigated. The Valentich case is often cited as an example of how conventional investigation techniques can be applied to unconventional phenomena. In recent years, advances in technology have allowed for new analysis of the original radio recordings. Digital audio processing techniques unavailable in 1978 have revealed subtle background sounds during Valentich's transmission that suggest his engine was indeed operating abnormally, lending credence to at least that portion of his report. However, the same analysis has raised new questions about the nature of the metallic scraping sounds that mark the end of the recording. The psychological impact on the air traffic control staff who handled Valentich's final transmission was significant. The controller who spoke with Valentich that night remained with air traffic services for another decade, but admitted in a rare interview that the incident had profoundly affected him. He maintained that in all his years of service, he had never encountered another situation quite like it, nor could he fully explain what he had heard that night. As the case moved into the 1990s and beyond, researchers began applying new technological tools and methodologies to the mystery. One significant development came from meteorological researchers who, using advanced weather modeling software, reconstructed the atmospheric conditions over Bass Strait on the night of Valentich's disappearance. Their analysis revealed an unusual temperature inversion layer that could have created complex visual effects, potentially explaining some, but not all, of what Valentich reported seeing. The aviation community's perspective on the case has also evolved over time. While initially many pilots were reluctant to discuss the incident publicly, fearing professional ridicule, the growing acceptance of unexplained aerial phenomena as a legitimate aviation safety concern has led to more open dialogue. Several experienced pilots have come forward with their own encounters over Bass Strait, describing phenomena similar to what Valentich reported, though none as dramatic or with such dire consequences. In 2008, on the 30th anniversary of the disappearance, a comprehensive review of the case was undertaken by an independent panel of aviation experts, meteorologists, and investigators. Their report, while not reaching any definitive conclusions, highlighted several aspects of the case that had been previously overlooked. They noted that the pattern of movement Valentich described the unknown object making was consistent with a phenomenon known as autokinesis, where a stationary light appears to move when stared at for prolonged periods, particularly against a dark background. However, this explanation failed to account for the mechanical problems Valentich reported with his aircraft, or the metallic scraping sounds captured on the recording. The panel also found it significant that Valentich's description of events remained consistent throughout the encounter, even as his anxiety level increased. In their experience investigating aircraft incidents, they noted that pilots suffering from spatial disorientation typically provide increasingly confused and contradictory reports, which wasn't the case here. The impact on Valentich's family continued to evolve over the decades. His younger siblings, who were children when Frederick disappeared, grew up to pursue careers in aviation and aerospace, driven partly by a desire to understand what happened to their brother. His mother, who passed away in 2000, maintained until her death that she believed her son had encountered something beyond conventional explanation, though she was more measured in her speculation than Guido had been. In 2018, 40 years after the disappearance, a new generation of researchers began applying artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to analyze all available data from the case. This comprehensive analysis revealed subtle patterns that had gone unnoticed. The timing of ground witness reports, radar anomalies, and Valentich's radio transmissions showed a consistent progression moving southeast across Bass Strait, suggesting that whatever Valentich encountered wasn't an isolated phenomenon. The case has also influenced popular culture in unexpected ways. Beyond the expected documentaries and books, the Valentich disappearance has inspired numerous artists, musicians, and writers. A permanent exhibition at the Australian National Aviation Museum includes a section dedicated to the incident, presenting the known facts alongside the various theories and allowing visitors to draw their own conclusions. Modern aviation safety experts have used the Valentich case to highlight the importance of developing protocols for pilots encountering unexplained phenomena. The International Civil Aviation Organization now includes guidance for pilots on maintaining aircraft control while documenting unusual encounters, directly influenced by lessons learned from this incident. The Bass Strait itself has yielded no further clues, despite advances in underwater search technology. Several expeditions using sophisticated sonar equipment have mapped sections of the seafloor along Valentich's projected flight path, but no debris field consistent with a light aircraft crash has ever been located. This absence of physical evidence continues to fuel speculation about the true nature of the disappearance. In recent years, the case has attracted attention from a new field: quantum physics researchers studying anomalous aerospace phenomena. Their interest stems from certain aspects of Valentich's description that align with theoretical models of quantum effects at macro scales. While highly speculative, their work represents a new approach to understanding aspects of the case that defy conventional explanation. As we approach the half-century mark since Frederick Valentich's final flight, his disappearance remains one of aviation's most enduring mysteries. The case continues to challenge our understanding of aerial phenomena, human perception, and the limitations of our investigative capabilities. It stands as a reminder that despite our technological advances and scientific understanding, there are still events that elude complete explanation. The legacy of the Valentich disappearance extends beyond the mystery itself. It has influenced aviation safety protocols, contributed to more open discussion of unusual aerial phenomena among pilots, and demonstrated the importance of maintaining comprehensive records of unusual incidents. Perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that in our quest to understand such mysteries, we must balance skepticism with openness to possibilities that challenge our existing frameworks of understanding. Today, the skies over Bass Strait continue to carry aircraft safely between mainland Australia and Tasmania, but pilots flying this route often think of Frederick Valentich and his final flight. His disappearance serves as both a cautionary tale and a reminder that even in our modern age of sophisticated technology and understanding, the skies can still hold mysteries that defy our best efforts at explanation.